व्यूअर्स डॉक्टर एजाज कुरैशी टोरंटो कनाडा से आपकी खिदमत में हाजिर है आज का द डे ड्रीमर शो लेकर। आज हमारा टॉपिक है डाइवर्सिटी एंड इंक्लूजन। हम इस पे बात करने वाले हैं अपनी मेहमान से। हमारी एस्टीम्ड गेस्ट हैं समर हसन फ्रॉम इस्लामाबाद पाकिस्तान। शी इज अ co-founder at Epiphany, I'm sorry, former head of communication at Karandaaz, Pakistan, former head of communication at various donor organizations, former assistant director, Office of Strategic Initiative at Habib University. She has been involved in women-led businesses. She has received several domestic and international awards and recognitions. Let's welcome our guest, Samar Hasan. Samar, welcome to the show.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam. How are you?
Thank you so much for having me on this. Thank you so much for having me on the show, Dr. Ejaz. It's truly a pleasure and an honor.
Thank you so much for giving us the time. Our viewers are really keen to understand more about diversity and inclusion. So let's move forward with our show. The topic is diversity and inclusion. So we all understand what diversity is, inclusion is, but again, what does it mean to you personally? What does diversity mean to you? And then we'll come back to the inclusion.
Okay, so basically, obviously, like the name suggests, diversity means things, organizations, groups of people that are different. And inclusion essentially means including diverse people, different organizations, different groups into the mainstream. So essentially, diversity and inclusion for us at Epiphany, it literally means making sure that everybody, whether it's women, people from marginalized groups, transgender community, everybody is part, people with disabilities, everybody is part of the mainstream and is able to both benefit from the services and products that Epiphany offers and elsewhere, and also is able to contribute in a wholesome fashion.
Awesome. That's great. That's great. So let's talk about Epiphany a little bit more. What it is, what sort of an organization it is, and what is the charter for the
so that brings a smile to my face because when we thought of the name Epiphany, originally we had actually named our organization Brainwave. And I was sitting with my partner and I said, hey, we have to design the logo and I can see the splash of colors, you know, like that epiphany moment. And I said that and we both of us paused and I said, it needs to be Epiphany, doesn't it? So we actually called up the lawyer and had to change the name, had to register a new company. So Epiphany essentially means that moment of utter realization, utter and sudden realization. And for both me and my co-founder, we've got more than 10 years of experience behind us in what we were doing because we felt that it wasn't letting us reach our true inner potential. And it came together when we realized that there is a lot of work that needs to be done for social entrepreneurs in Pakistan. So essentially, Epiphany had a mission to help social entrepreneurs and women entrepreneurs be successful in their endeavors. Now, obviously, it's changed a little bit. But it remains a social enterprise in its nature, and it's also functioning as an impact consulting firm.
Awesome.
I'm going to stop here. You can ask me more, and I'll keep going on and on about Epiphany.
Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned earlier while we were discussing Epiphany, you're almost a year and a half into the organization, and it's doing pretty good. So this business is based out of Islamabad, right?
Yes, we're based out of Islamabad, yes. But we have plans of global domination, I will tell you that.
Okay, yeah, I was about to ask that what is your plan to go beyond, over and beyond Islamabad?
Okay, so essentially we've already gone over and beyond Islamabad. So last year was our first Epiphany Lab. It's a time-tested curriculum which has been developed by Uncharted, in partnership, I would say, with a lot of different institutes over the years. It's an international curriculum which has been time tested in 42 locations, including Pakistan, Afghanistan, Kyrgyzstan, and last year we brought it over to our part of the world. It was a nationwide process of selection. So we had a lot of applications from Karachi, Islamabad, Peshawar, Lahore, etc. And the mix of entrepreneurs that we selected were also from Karachi, Peshawar, Islamabad, and Lahore. However, of course, we would like to see some of our interventions go international the way we see it right now. However, a lot needs to be done in Pakistan. So I guess for another year or so, we are totally focused here. Another way that our work transformed when we did our first lab, we realized that it's not only entrepreneurship development that requires a lot of support, but also human development. So we went ahead and designed a whole range of courses and programs focusing more on soft skills like emotional intelligence, critical thinking, rhetoric, effective communication, working across borders, working with the opposite gender. So we've kind of really looked at what people, especially young people in Pakistan, need and designed programs, customized programs for them.
That's awesome. That's really wonderful. So are you working because the program actually touches the masses, right? Um, are you working with any government or state level organization to progress further? Your initiative is great. It really touches uh, pretty much everyone, right? So are you working with any state organization to further advance
So
your?
uh-huh. So it's different. It falls under the impact consulting work that Epiphany does. But recently, we have become the subcontractors for Ignite. Ignite used to be the ICT R&DF fund, Information and Communication Technology for Research and Development Fund. That's also a mouthful. So we have been subcontracted to conduct the entire outreach and PR campaign for a nationwide program called DigiSkills, which aims to train young people, well, actually not young people, so young people, housewives, freelancers, everybody literally can take part in those courses, which are in the future of work. So that's something that we're trying to do. We also give back a lot of our own personal time towards initiatives that we believe in. For instance, recently, Women Can Do, which is a program for women-led entrepreneurship initiatives being led by students at universities and seminaries. So, I was a judge there, and it's really bizarre because we ran over time because I kept giving feedback on the projects. So we continuously support other people who are running initiatives like our own or initiatives that we believe in. However, for Epiphany, really, because part of the mission is to promote social entrepreneurship at the grassroots level. So we're trying to figure out who is willing to work with us to take the curriculum down to the masses, because we really believe that social entrepreneurs have what it takes to solve Pakistan's very real and complex problems. Not me, not you, because we are sitting in Islamabad or sitting in major cities. We are educated. We present maybe 0.1% of the entire nation. But what we can do, the way we see our role, is to help capacitate them. So if they were creating this much impact, suddenly they can create, so much more impact just through some capacity building and support.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल अच्छा समर मुझे ये पता चला है कि आप खवातीन के अलावा ट्रांसजेंडर्स को भी असिस्ट कर रही हैं अपने प्रोजेक्ट में तो उसका एक्सपीरियंस बताइए कि क्या कर रही हैं आप उनके लिए
अच्छा, so अभी जो है ना, we have just started, ठीक है? So the story is that since last year we've wanted to do something for the transgender community, but we were unable to simply because Epiphany is entirely self-financed and there were certain projects that we wanted to take off the ground. So a year later, it was literally a matter of us sitting down and saying, okay, enough is enough. We have to do something, right? So as you may know, this is the first time that transgender community was able to vote. So after 70 years, this is the first time that they've been able to do that, right? So it's a big deal. We have marginalized them for 7 decades, more than 7 decades in Pakistan. And even though they're allowed to vote and they have got their NICs, they can make their national identification cards now, it's still very difficult to bring them back into the mainstream because we have not trained them for anything besides 2 or 3 professions, right? So there's dancing that they can do. They can work as, sex workers, or the third option for them is literally to beg for money. So it's going to be a difficult task. At this present moment in time, we've held focus group discussions with about 50-60 people so far from the transgender community. We've also had key informant interviews with the people who are working with transgender communities, such as Ahuat in Lahore has a clothes bank where they're employing transgender people. However, what is difficult, the ones who are very young, they can find alternate means of earning livelihood. And the ones who are older, they don't live very long because they have serious health conditions. Hepatitis C and HIV virus is prevalent immensely. However, every single person, almost every single person that I've met, they have told me that, look, we want respect. We would love to work in respectable, in respectable areas, in respectable professions. But what do we do? Right? So the idea behind our initiative, it's called Shanacht, which literally translates into identity, but we're saying Shanacht colon dignity for all. That's the name of the intervention. The idea is after discussing with them, we want to design a solution which they're willing to accept and which works for them. So we've designed the solution. Actually, I would invite to share the link as widely as possible. We've applied for an international challenge for called Bridge Builders, which is part of OpenIDEO and GHR Foundation. Everybody pray for us. We're submitting the final application on August 15th. We find out in October. So if we get the funds, then we'll be able to really take forward the entire program. So the program focuses on socio-economic development by training them in vocational and technical education, providing them with the tools. So for instance, sewing machines, if they need any beauty products to go into the beauty industry, and then linking them up with the potential employers. So on the one hand, connecting them to different boutiques, fashion houses. So I worked a lot with women enterprises. Some of them run their own home cooking businesses. Some of them are running their own parlors. Some of them have fashion outlets. So these guys can easily be integrated. And where people are unwilling to accept them right now. So the other portion is advocacy. So where people are unable to accept them right now because of the brainwashing that has happened for so many years, we are actually planning on creating e-commerce platforms. So they're behind a screen. They don't have to interact with people who are not willing to accept them and are just going to just say Urdu mein kehte hain dil azari karenge, right? So we're going to hurt them even more.
Bilkul.
So that's the plan right now. And we're receiving international feedback. Let's see how that really works out.
Great. That's a great initiative. So lots of these transgenders, as you said, they're on the street, and uh, because they don't have any other option for survival, and they have to make a living, right? So that's what they do. Uh, what is Epiphany doing in terms of taking these transgenders out of the streets, and how do you do that? Are you doing that, or you're not doing that, or you're reaching out to the heads of those communities or leaders within that community, and you're establishing a dialogue with them?
So we've started establishing the dialogue already with the heads of the gurus. They're called gurus, the leaders, as well as we're speaking to individuals as well. But the way they are organized in the guru chela mechanism. So we've conducted some of these focus group discussions to really understand what are going to be the barriers for us to be able to do this work. On the other hand, we've also started speaking to people who may be willing to absorb them into their workforce. So in the coming week, we've got a meeting with a home chef, a lady who runs her own outlet. We're trying to have 1 or 2 transgenders start working with her. Simultaneously, there's another woman entrepreneur who has offered her space to several girls from the beauty industry to start up a beauty parlor there. So in return, so she's not charging them anything. It's out of her, own goodwill, let's say. So what she's doing is she's providing them the space, and in return, we're asking these ladies, hey, can you please train these transgender persons in fashion industry, makeup, etc., because they have a natural flair for it. On the other hand, we've already lined up a vocational and technical institute in Islamabad, which is going to help provide more professional vocational and technical training to them in fashion designing, stitching clothes primarily, and in beauty as well as cooking. So the story is really incomplete until we're able to create the linkages from the other side, because now imagine a situation where they're already trained and they can pursue these other professions, but there are no agencies that are willing to absorb them. The challenge, on the other hand, is they're earning a lot of money already, sometimes through dancing at different functions, etc. So, earning anything less than 15,000 rupees in Lahore is impossible for them to even consider. In Islamabad, it's even higher because Islamabad is a much more expensive place. So that is a challenge right now, because a lot of smaller entrepreneurs have the openness of their hearts to accept them, but they don't have enough money to employ them at decent rates. So once again, there is a shortfall where we need to either pitch in our own money or get some other people to support us.
Great. That's a great initiative. Uh, about the transgenders, I mean, this is really interesting topic, and I sometimes talk about this in my shows as well with other guests. Uh, I think the issue involves when a child naturally is born transgender. And what happens traditionally in our culture is that these gurus, they come in and they take away the child from from the parents. And parents, for some reason, they don't really think about it. They just want to get rid of that kid, and because they are sometimes either ashamed or whatever, what have you. What is Epiphany doing in terms of um, including those kids and keeping them within the family?
Mhm.
Are you doing
So to
something
be
on
honest, right now we're not, because it's very difficult to identify who are those children, right? So people don't really own up to it. There is shame involved, like you rightly said, and then they're taken away. And in a way, some of the parents are actually relieved because they're taken away, off their hands. So right now, our plan is to induct the adults because they're at that end where they're finishing off, their livelihood is completely dying out, and they don't have any other ways. However, what we do want to start doing is also working with the gurus, because essentially what happens is they pick up those kids because eventually those kids are going to earn for them and take care of them. So if we are able to employ the gurus and we're able to give them better livelihood still, even after they've retired from the dancing and other areas, then it becomes less and less tricky for them to go and take the children away, right? Having said that, on the other hand, if you look at it from the child's perspective, if the parents, if the families are not owning them, they don't want to see their faces, they don't want to have those kids with them anymore, then the gurus, actually the network is important for these kids as well. Otherwise they're going to be on the streets and be exploited. So in a way um, it is both a necessity, and I don't think that we can transition out of this too quickly. I think it has to be slow and gradual. In any case, advocacy is required, and advocacy and behavioral change takes a very long while. So from our past experience working for Citizens Voice Project, which was a governance and voice and accountability project funded by USAID, um, it has extended for 8 years, which is unprecedented. There are hardly any USAID projects which have been, prolonged for such a long time. And part of it is because there is realization that when you're talking about voice and accountability, or you're talking about behavioral change and advocacy, it is going to take time. So on this end, no, we have not started. Do we have plans? Yes, we do. What we're trying to do, we've also applied for another grant, on the other hand, which covers the voice and accountability and the governance aspect around it. So really trying to bring them into the mainstream. So our plan for that was the initial intervention. So suppose we chose stitching, and that's the area that we start off with. Once the e-commerce platform is lined up and we're selling their material, but we do a soft launch through a fashion show. So all of the stuff, all of the material which has been designed by the transgender community, I'm there as a female, as a cisgender person, showcasing those clothes and doing a fashion show. Okay, I'm very short, so I'm not the best model out there, but anyway. So the idea is to have girls, women, participate in the fashion show, as well as transgender persons, to really break away the silo. So we're doing it all together, and people are able to purchase their goods and their items. The other thing, of course, as a communications professional, it is about telling stories. So I want to tell their story, how when they are human, literally making people realize that they are just like you and me. They aren't different. Yes, they've been dealt a bad hand, but we can still sort things out and bring them back, integrate them back into mainstream society.
absolutely. That's great. So food for thought is, I think, um, either you guys or some government organization or state organization should create a program, educational program for the parents of these children, to really include them rather than giving them away to gurus and to be used for different
Hmm.
reasons and purposes. I think the
On that note,
children should be
really
kept
love.
within the family.
Sorry. On that note, there's a very lovely video that recently, I think UN Women produced it. It's about a young person who graduates from school. She's a transgender person, and her entire family is celebrating with her success. So I think, videos like that, they have the tendency to be very visual, appeal to people, and really go viral. So I think
Absolutely.
that's part of the advantage of it that we will need to be doing simultaneously while making sure that we're showcasing success stories. So somebody who was, not able to have another source of livelihood, and making sure that once they have a livelihood, they can talk about it. Right?
Absolutely. That's
Yes.
great. There's a comment from one of our friends from Geneva, Switzerland. His name is Sayyid Sharifuddin. He is saying lots of good things are happening, including from her own organization. We do not seem to see success stories in the media or in government web pages or universally acknowledged. हाँ बिल्कुल ठीक है सही कह रहे हैं कि you're doing this great job, but very few people know about this. So media doesn't really cover a lot. I've seen there was a first school open for transgenders in Lahore, and that was very well covered on the social media rather than on the mainstream media, electronic media. This is really sad to see. I mean, they would have tons of talk shows where people are yelling at each other and they're literally
Oh my God.
fighting and, raising the adrenaline level, and that's how they build their TRP, you know. But that is really strange to see. And I thank you, Sharifuddin Sahab, to mention this out, that yes, the mainstream media really lacks the human touch, I would say. It's inhuman. Especially our country's media is inhuman. What would you say?
Yeah. Oh, unfortunately, I will have to agree. Mazrat ke saath, I will have to agree with Sharifuddin Saab. That was his name. So number
Yes.
one, he's actually writing from my previous hometown. Geneva used to be my hometown for 6+ years. So you live in a beautiful city. Say hello to the Genevois for me. Coming back to the media issue. I remember the time very clearly when there was one channel, there used to be PTV, and 9 o'clock there used to be Khabarnama, and that was it, right? So there were limited transmission time. The amount of time that you have on TV, there are all these talk shows, all these channels which are 24/7. But you're absolutely right. We are perpetrating this senseless, um, impolite way of behaving with each other, right? So one of the things that I like to tell people when I'm running a communications course, or just when randomly I find an opportunity to speak to young people, is, hey, if you don't agree with something, you can still listen. You can be quiet. It does not mean that you agree with something. Listen, the other person, let the other person talk, and then once he's done, please talk back and explain your point of view in normal human terms, right? Don't be an animal. Don't scream and yell at people. So I completely agree. I think that we are showcasing a very negative side of Pakistan on TV. I think we could do a lot more to showcase the positive image of the country, and cover young people, cover talented people, cover the success stories. In the recent past, there have been some instances where more on the singing side, I would say, or on the showbiz side. So there's a guy selling chai, suddenly he becomes chai wala and everybody knows him. Similarly, recently there was a video going viral of a young painter, and he sings beautifully. His voice is absolutely stunning, and suddenly media has picked him up as well from social media initially, and then so there is movement. Also on the entrepreneurship side, there is this program which was started by a colleague of ours called Nabil Qadir. He used to be part of the PITB, Government of Punjab, under Plan 9. And he started a show called Idea Karodon Ka, which is based on Dragon's Den or Shark Tank. So he's trying as well. But I think a lot more can be done. We have started seeing women entrepreneurs being covered on cooking shows, right? But I still see that there is paucity of programs which are covering education and what social entrepreneurs are trying to do, and the gaps, the SDG goals, which we're lacking behind on. I think a lot more awareness needs to be built around that. Na sirf politicians के बारे में और एक दूसरे से लड़ाइयाँ करते रहे, oh, this person is doing that and the other. I think there is room to do that, definitely.
Awesome. Awesome. One more question. I know it's off topic, but since we are talking about it again, media, uh, who is responsible for that kind of media behavior? Is media responsible for that, or are we as human beings responsible for that? Audience.
I would say that it's now it's both, right? Originally, I would say that it started off with the media, because if you remember earlier, we used to have these very thoughtful dramas as well. We had, feudal lords being covered in the dramas. We had drug issues being covered. धुआं एक drama हुआ करता था पहले. So there used to be reasonable, important intellectual content that used to be shown on TV. So I would say that yes, media has a very important role. Even on I don't watch TV, so personally, I have stopped watching TV. It's been so many years, I don't even remember. So occasionally, of course, other people around me watch TV, so I will watch it. But I'm not, an active TV viewer anymore because of just the amount of stuff, the kind of stuff that we see on TV. So I would say yes, initially the responsibility lay with media. It still lies with the media because right now they've trained the people to like the sensationalism, fighting on TV, etc. People like, I'm not sure if I should be taking names, but there is this gentleman who's also a doctor who comes on TV, very popular person. She runs these shows in Ramzan. I'm sure you know who I'm talking about now.
Yes, I do.
But people watch him. Okay, people have started watching him. Is it because there was trashy TV watching him? I think yes. Is there an opportunity now to go back? It's going to be difficult, but yes, there is that room. I think young people don't want to watch, stuff which doesn't appeal to them anymore on TV.
Yeah.
So I think yes, I think there is room also for celebrities to start coming out and talking about important things. So for instance, Shahzad Roy, he does educational endeavors. That's very, very important. If more people like him came to the fore and started talking about important issues, I don't see why all of the people who follow them would also not start taking it seriously.
Right.
Maybe I'm optimistic. I don't
No, we have to hope for the best. So let's see. Let's see what happens. I'm really not very happy with the media, especially Pakistani media, and the way they are presenting Pakistan, and especially this show, the Day Dreamers show, is all about bringing good things out of Pakistan and show it to the world that how beautiful Pakistan is, how beautiful people of Pakistan are, and what are they doing? What are they up to? What are the different things they bring to the table, to the world? They're contributing to the world. They're contributing to the humanity, and you're no exception. You're one of them as well. Awesome. So thank you so much, Samar. It has been really pleasure on behalf of the Dreams Television, the Daydreamers Show, myself, Dr. Jas Qureshi, all of our viewers who have watched live, who have commented, or will be watching it in recording off air. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Dr. Qureshi. All righty. Khadafis.
Khadafis. All right, viewers, that was Samar Hasan from Islamabad. Please do support her initiative, and she's working very hard on inclusion and diversity, and she's supporting social entrepreneurship for women, and she needs your support. So thank you so much. Keep watching.